Welcome to Only Murders in My Mind. Hello everyone, it's Thursday, it's 5 p.m. and it's Only Murders in My Mind with Liz Hedgecock.
Hello.
And Mike Jackson. Didn't laugh.
Sorry.
Didn't laugh.
I was waiting for the laugh. Usually it's Mike Jackson, giggle, giggle, giggle.
Oh, you were leaving room for the laugh.
I was leaving room for the laugh and it didn't come. Right.
Mike, how's is it novella coming along?
Slowly.
Is it?
When in doubt, ask about the novella.
Yeah, slowly.
When we don't know what we're doing.
It's not coming. It's just not coming as quickly as I thought it might.
Yeah.
Indeed.
It goes back to this inbuilt problem I've got, and that is that anything longer than 100 words story I find difficult to write.
Well, more than that, it's a bit much, isn't it, when you get to past 200 words?
Well, when you think, in the past, that's all I've written is short stories. So I'm finding anything longer than short stories, I get bogged down. I get bored.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Yeah. I mean, I did a talk recently for a WI group, and one of the ladies said, "How long does it take you to write one of your novels?" Because I'd already said, my novels, my detective novels, and probably my other novels as well, are around 50,000 words, and I call them a good airport read.
Right.
So you start it while you're waiting to get on the plane, and unless it's a very long flight, you'll have finished it by the time you get to Spain, probably. You know, and if you haven't, you will finish it soon after. It's that sort of a book.
Yeah.
And
lots of people have said to me they'd like a shorter
Yes.
book in that sense of you can finish it in a day or two.
Yeah.
I mean, having gone through Demon Copperhead, which I enjoyed tremendously, and I would recommend it to everybody. I gave it 5 stars. On the Kindle, it's like 800 pages.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, I mean, David Copperfield is a long book,
book.
so you can imagine.
Well, it's funny enough. I was looking at something I knew was around, but I hadn't looked at it for a long time, and that was Kindle Shorts.
Oh, right.
Oh, yes.
And apparently they can be as short as 1,000 words.
Yeah, because they do it, certainly on Kindle Short Reads in the US, they organise them by how many minutes, and
Yes,
it
right.
can be really, really
Really
short.
short.
Yeah.
Maybe that's your niche.
Yeah.
That's what I've been thinking about is going down that, because I think that the sort of the happy medium, because you can go from 1,000 right up to 10,000 on the Kindle.
Yeah, because my 10,000 worders normally come in at, I think, 1 to 2 hours as a short read. So, they qualify.
So something like 5,000 words would come in as a nice Kindle. And what I've been doing some looking into this and research, and a number of people have written these, and then they box set them.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sort of maybe 5 in a box set.
Yes.
And I don't think they self-publish as, I think some people do. I think to have them as a paperback copy, but they tend to be Kindle. Am I right? Because once you start, I mean, apart from anything else, Amazon have got a 24-page minimum.
Yes.
I think, for a book.
And also the thing is, with a book, the expensive part is the cover.
That's right. Yeah.
So, I mean, I've encountered this publishing short books myself, in that they feel disproportionately expensive because a lot of that chunk of money is the cover.
Yeah.
I hadn't thought of that, but that makes sense.
Well, shiny full cover.
Yeah,
Yes.
shiny, pretty covers.
Shiny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think certainly with these Kindle Shorts, I mean, I was doing some research about this, and some people, when they have published these as paperback books, some of the criticism they get from readers is not so much I did or I did not enjoy the story. I felt shortchanged. I didn't realise it was so short. I didn't realise it was only 15 pages or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's because sometimes they've not been explicit in their description.
It's very clearly put on Amazon how many pages.
Yes, but some people don't go down that far.
Some people just don't look. Yeah.
I was going to say,
but it's right under the book description.
Yeah.
It's not.
Yeah.
I often wonder whether my books should be longer, but I'm never going to pad things out just to make them longer. My books are finished when they're finished.
Yeah.
And because my books are dialogue driven, you get a lot of information from people just talking to each other.
Yeah.
I'm not one of these that do, and some people hate it, some people like it. The hills were rolling into the distance, the grass looked dewy, and there was a little house with smoke coming out, and it made him think of, I don't do any of that bit.
No. Unless you got, and the smoke was coming out because somebody had set fire to it, and inside there were 3 poor maidens.
They were burning the clothes of the victim.
Yeah, I might do that bit, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, quite often when I'm editing Carol, it's like, so what does this person look like? You know, what are they wearing? Can we have a bit of, what's the front room of the person you're interviewing? What's it like? You know?
So I'm led by that. I do try and be a bit more descriptive about the people that.
So Kindle Shorts might be where I might delve into.
Yeah.
And again, there is research to say that people's attention spans now are much shorter, and people do like that quick read while they're on the way to work.
Oh, definitely.
Or whatever.
But I mean, also like the whole thing of the length of a book. I mean, really, it's an industry thing, and it's a fashion.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because you think about the Victorians and those whacking great 3-volume novels.
Yeah.
Reason why they were so big is because that's how the circulating libraries worked.
Right.
Yeah.
And if your book was going to be a success, you had to have it in the circulating library in Moody's or in Boots. So it had to be a 3-volumer.
Yeah.
Or they wouldn't consider it. So you have these 900-page jobs.
Yeah.
And then later on, when the circulating libraries kind of lost some power and you had things like station bookstores and cheap paperbacks, shorter books were the order of the day.
And also when you think back to people like Dickens rather, and I've got a feeling Sherlock Holmes did this as well, who wrote weekly instalments.
Yes, because Arthur Conan Doyle did it with the Strand, didn't
that's
he?
right,
And yes.
Yeah.
So Pickwick Papers, I think it was 20 parts.
Yep.
And the last part's a double.
Yep.
So you get 19 and 20 in the same thing.
But they were coming out in sort of newspapers and short stories.
Thomas Hardy as well, because
or instalments.
They'd be really full of sensation and excitement because you had to finish on a cliffhanger so they'd buy the next copy of the magazine. And then when it came to the actual novel, he'd edit half of that out. So
Right.
yeah,
I was going to say we're finding it now translating over to television. Me and my husband watch a lot of foreign crime drama. I mean, I like watching the English and the American stuff as well, but and very often it'll be 10 episodes and we both agree it only needed maybe 6 or 7. They had really dragged it to the point where you were thinking, I'm disconnecting with this.
Yes. Yeah.
If they don't do something, I mean, because in a book you try and build it up, don't you? Then you have a bit of a slump, and then it builds up again towards the end of the book.
Yeah.
I'm watching it and I'm thinking, oh, get on with it. Is that just because of the way we are now? We want sharp, short, quick.
I think it's also we're used to a certain pace and we're used to a structure. I had the opposite way round with Ludwig.
Right.
Because it felt like the last episode had enough plot for about 3.
Yes.
And I was thinking, I bet what it was is they wrote for an 8-episode run and they got 6.
Yeah.
And they thought, well, heck, we're just going to put it all in.
Yeah. You're right. It was quite convoluting, that last episode.
It was.
Wasn't it?
I remember watching it going, blimey.
Yeah.
This is a bit of a change of pace.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
But I think you're right. People do like the series on Netflix or wherever else, don't they? And I think what it allows people to do is to binge on them.
I can't do more than 2 or at the most 3 episodes of anything.
No, I can probably do. And I when watch telly, can probably do 2. I doubt if we'd go to 3 in an evening.
See, I can if I'm having a bad day, I can just sit on the couch and watch one after another. Now, saying that, there'll be a period of sleep.
So you got to go back and watch the ones you missed.
Yes, and there'll be a period of me flicking through my iPad and looking at things and not fully concentrating on so it's background noise. As my mum would always have the radio on, I always have the television on in the background.
No, I put it on to watch something and then it goes off again.
Yeah, I'll have it on as background noise. Maybe a bad habit, I don't know.
Well, if it suits you, and does it matter?
No, it's to stop the noises in my head, the voices in my head.
Talking of works in progress,
yes.
How's Cowslip?
I've still not done any more. I'm ashamed to say.
You've been busy.
The work has been full on recently, yeah. But as I mentioned in the last episode, I did. We all do this at different times. We do talks for groups, and I did a talk for a group, and they were really interested in the possibility of a novella. So that gave me a little bit of one or two ladies said, "Oh, that sounds like it would be fun." I said, "Well, it's supposed to be funny."
Yeah. And I think that's the sort of book, given that you do a lot of talks to organisations like the WI.
Yeah.
I think that's the sort of thing they would really enjoy and would do well.
So it's just a case
Post-event.
of me getting out of this phase that I'm in at the moment of being like stagnant in me writing. I think this is the longest I've ever gone without doing any serious writing since I moved back to Warrington from
Wow,
Cumbria.
really?
Yeah.
Gosh.
Yeah.
Mind you, work has been busy.
Yeah.
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 All this talking about radios made me think about some of the famous literary detectives that have been on radio. And I think when we, certainly Carol and I, have an age when we talk about radio, we're talking about the big radiogram that's set on the side, you know. Liz is looking at us as though, what on earth are we talking about?
I think I've seen pictures of them.
It was a piece of furniture,
It was,
big piece of furniture. Yeah.
Wow.
And it was the mainstay of anybody's storytelling, because it was certainly, most people had a radio that may not have had a television, certainly in the 50s.
Mm-hmm.
And I was looking at some of this and trying to work out why was and is radio so popular when it comes to telling detective stories. And I think probably one of the reasons is atmosphere, because they can build up an atmosphere with music, with sound effects. And if they've got the right narrator, it's the voice itself can be can win people over.
I get that, but the thing is, I'm one of these people, I don't take in information that I hear that well.
Right.
So, because I remember when I was at university, there'd be lectures, and I used to have to write the whole thing down and then read it. The act of writing it down meant it went in. If I sat and listened, it'd be like, none of it just went straight through.
Yeah, I'm chalk and talk. I'm one of these people that I always made copious note. I mean, that little, you can't see it, folks, but I've got a book cabinet at the side of my work desk that I use for my day job. And it's got books and books of notes in from 5 years ago. Because I was like making notes. When
I was on courses, I never took notes.
Oh.
I used to just sit and listen.
Yeah.
But going back to the radio thing, we were talking just now about serialisation, and if you go back to the 1950s, 60s, and even later than that, when some of these Sherlock Holmes and Agatha Christie were on the radio, they were on the radio quite often as serials.
Yeah.
So that each week you got another part of the story. So going back to what they were doing with the newspapers.
Yeah,
What
I suppose it's kind of like a book at bedtime.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
Well, I can remember when I was off school during the holidays and things, sitting with my mum, and she'd be knitting and we'd be listening to Woman's Hour. Woman's Hour. And there was always a story, a serial story on that, and we'd listen to the Archers and all this sort of thing, and it was quite nice.
I vaguely remember these things being on in the background, but I couldn't tell you a thing about them because again, it just went through.
Yeah.
Well, I was looking at this, and as late or as early depends how old you are. So it'd be a long time ago for Carol and I, and just yesterday for Liz. But in 1989 to 1998, two chaps, I've never heard of these before, Clive Merrison and Michael Williams did the adaptations of Sherlock Holmes, Conan Doyle's Sherlock Holmes. And over that period, they did four full-length novels and 56 short stories.
So the whole lot then.
The whole lot.
Whole enchilada.
In fact, Merrison, who played Clive Merrison, who played Sherlock Holmes, is the only actor to have played Holmes in every one of Conan Doyle's stories.
Wow.
I've heard he's very well rated as well.
Yes.
As a Holmes.
Yeah.
Oh, right. That's interesting. I did not know that.
But yeah, Michael Williams, Judi Dench's husband as was.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Oh, I didn't know that. No.
Yeah, and their daughter is an audiobook narrator.
Ah, so it goes in
there. You go. Finty Williams, I think her name is.
Oh.
But I remember reading an interview with her, and she said, Judi Dench had tried it, and she just couldn't. There's a you have to have an ability to do it, and if you can either do it or you can't, according to her.
Right.
Yeah. And apparently, June Whitfield played Miss Marple in the 1990s and 2000s.
Oh, I can see that.
Yeah, I can.
Well, I probably hear that, but you know what I mean.
And she did all of Agatha Christie's 12 novels on the radio. So there's some longevity there. Some of these novels come onto the radio, or back then they would have done.
Yeah. And I mean, the other thing is it's going to be so much cheaper than doing a TV production,
oh, yes,
isn't it?
yeah.
So do we think now that podcasts and audiobooks have taken over where the radio left off? Because We just tend to listen to music on our radio now.
You get, it's a shame that, because BBC Sounds, you can still pick up some of these. You could probably find June Whitfield doing Miss Marple.
Probably,
It'll all be in the archives.
One of the things I
BBC
really
archives.
like about BBC Sounds is if you've missed something, you can go back and listen to it, because we tend to listen to Six Music, and there are some shows that we really like and others that we're frankly less bothered about. And so, we'll make sure we have like Guy Garvey on, for example. Even if we missed it, we'll put him on later. So
I think that's one of the reasons why we've talked about this already, why more and more people are finding something like listening to stories.
Yeah.
I think it's also we've, to a degree, a lot of the time kind of lost that water cooler moment in that you can listen to things anytime.
Yes.
And it's not like you're all round the TV at, 9 o'clock on a Friday night to catch whatever it is.
There was a thing in our house, myself, my husband and the 4 children. The only time we ever sat down together to watch TV was when we watched The Simpsons. True?
Yeah.
True.
But that's an interesting point, isn't it? Because you're right, way back, I mean, I can remember as a child, Watch with Mother was always on at lunchtime. You weren't there at lunchtime, you missed it. It wasn't as though it was going to be repeated or anything.
Yeah.
Whereas
or
now
it'd be repeated at some weird time when,
Whereas nowadays, if I want to listen to a podcast or if I want to listen to a short story, I can play it via my phone through my hearing aids, and I could be anywhere.
Yeah.
I could be going for a walk. I could be doing it now and ignoring these two.
Yeah, he probably is, to be quite honest.
Is it technology wonderful?
Well, but it makes listening to stories so much more accessible for everybody because you can do it in your own time.
Yeah, and also we were talking about the binging thing.
Yes.
Yeah, and I mean now, whereas before you'd have to wait until next week for whatever it was. Now you can get the whole series on iPlayer like the minute, even before the first episode is there, it's on there.
Yeah.
And, if they don't do that, then it's a conscious decision about, right, we are going to release this.
Drip feed
You have
to
So, like with Bridgerton, the last series, they did the first half.
Yeah.
And then you had to wait. Yeah.
Well, it used to be the same with books.
Yeah.
I remember an avid reader of Harry Potter, and part of it was waiting for the next one to come along.
Anticipation.
Yes.
And people queuing up outside shops to get it. I'm not sure people have got the patience to do that anymore. I don't know.
Well, also with a Kindle, it's like you don't have to wait. It's, you get to the end, it's like, do you want to read the next one? Here it is.
Yeah. But the Thursday Murder Club, he's making people wait for his next.
He's making people wait for the next one.
Isn't he? Because it's out towards the end of the year, I
Yes,
think.
yeah.
I mean, that's the thing as well. I think the whole binging thing has possibly changed the way authors release books, because I certainly know of people who say, oh, I don't release any of a series until I've got the first 3 written. And some of them will then do like all 3 on at once or a week apart.
Yeah.
So
it's going back to a conversation I know we've had in the past, where, if I'm not mistaken, Liz, you've sort of played around with having some of your books as audible, as spoken words.
I have a audiobook contract for 1 book. Yes.
Yeah. And now, again, because of AI, it's so much easier for authors to do that. That once upon a time it's a very expensive thing to do, is to get your book as an audio book, to pay somebody to actually read it out.
Yes.
Now with AI, it is a much cheaper thing. And I know there's a number of writers out there who are going down that road, who are, saying, well, I've got these X number of books, I'm going to use AI to create an audio, and they're selling it themselves from their own web pages or their own website. And so
I certainly know that for some people, and this isn't necessarily just AI audiobooks, it's audiobooks generally, what they're doing is they are putting the recordings onto YouTube.
Oh, right.
So you can listen for free, but the thing is they've monetized their channel.
Right.
So then they are getting advertising revenue depending on how many listens things get, because obviously people are going to want to listen till the end of the chapter, and then they're going to want to go to the next chapter and carry on and carry on and carry on.
So each YouTube video would be a chapter, probably, would it?
Probably, yeah.
There's
that's a good idea.
I've looked into YouTube when I did some YouTube shorts for this podcast. I was looking at the whole business of storytelling on YouTube. And it's amazing how many sites, as Liz say, how many sites are out there that have got short stories or chapters up as YouTube. And quite often, it's not a film as such, it's just a picture.
Yeah.
Which lasts, the picture doesn't change for 25, 30 minutes, the story's behind it. And what I've also noticed, that quite a number of people are going into the public domain and taking books like Sherlock Holmes, for example,
Yeah.
and reading them out or having them read out and putting those onto YouTube because there are no copyright issues
Yeah.
with that.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you've got a good narrating voice.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could
Maybe that's what we could do with
quite well.
ours.
Yeah.
We could put it on YouTube. Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, you need, I think it's something like 1,000 subscribers
You do.
before you can monetize
Monetize.
it.
Yeah,
So,
I've been doing some research into
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
yeah.
But it is an easy way to get into that audio.
Yes.
Well, I've recorded an audio book with John as my editor, and it was such hard work.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do another one.
No.
And I did think when we'd finished, I thought, nobody's going to buy this. But that'd be a good way of trying to...
It's monetizing, yes,
Yeah.
getting a YouTube channel that you could... you'd have to have a few stories up there
Yeah,
to get that audience. But as Liz say, once you're at the 1,000 plus
yeah.
audience,
Yes.
then you're into monetization.
Yeah, because as I say, one of the things I've got on my bucket list is to have a YouTube channel for fashion for the older woman.
Oh, yeah, go for it.
But whether I'll ever do it, I don't know.
But the great thing with YouTube channels, you can have as many as you like.
You
know.
can,
And the
yeah.
one with regard to the books, there's nothing to stop you having your Warrington Detective in chapters as a series, but then also doing some short one-off stories, short stories, or short YouTube shorts to go alongside
Yeah.
them.
I mean, also, you could maybe cross-pollinate. So when you've finished your cozy book, you can maybe do an item on your fashion
Yeah.
channel about, what they're wearing, what their style is.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah,
Steal
that's
my
a good
style.
idea.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
And,
There
and
you go.
again,
you can have that for free.
Thank you.
yeah, you do. I enjoy the whole AI scenario, but the latest 11 labs, which I've used before, they've become more sophisticated now in terms of what you can produce on there with the sort of ums and ers and making it more real on there. So if you're looking for a chapter at a time, it's more than possible to do that fairly easily.
You say that, mate. You're looking at me.
No, but I wasn't thinking of you. I was thinking you could do it, couldn't you, John?
I could do it.
But, yeah.
Just agree.
No. What I meant is John would do it for you.
I mean, somebody said to me at this talk I did, how much does it cost to produce a book as an independent author? I said, well, you can do it for nothing.
That's a piece of string job,
Yeah.
isn't it? That
It
question.
is. I said, I personally pay individual people to do certain parts of my, end product because I can't do them or I can't get my head around them, if you know what I mean. So yeah, it is. You can pay if you're savvy and you know what you're doing, as Liz does and you do. You can do it for nothing. If you're like me and have panic attacks every time.
But it's also, it kind of depends on what genre you're writing. Because if you're in a
course.
genre where you can do a simple cover and that will be fine,
Yeah.
then fair enough. But I'm in the process of editing a kind of romantic fantasy book at the moment, and that is going to need, quite a specialist, complicated cover. And I did a mock-up and thought, this isn't hitting it, so we are going to commission something for
To
that.
do it, yeah.
Yeah, because it's a whole thing. If you look on the charts for those books, they've got beautiful covers.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And when you're selling something on Amazon, it's the front cover
It's the front cover.
that very often
completely.
attract people.
What surprised me, I listened to Joanna Penn's.
Yeah. She's a good one
podcast,
to listen to, isn't
which
she?
she's a great one. She's a great writer. But I'm also one of her Patreon, so I get extra because I pay something like £5 a month or something for a cup of coffee, and you get extra episodes coming through. And she did something recently. It was when ChatGPT started doing image generation from prompts.
Oh yeah.
And she did a fascinating little video where she was showing us that here are 3 of my books in a particular series that I've got. And they've all got the same font as you expect on the 3 books, and a similar background picture which matched the story. So what I've done is I've put these 3 books into ChatGPT, said to it, I've made it up, I'm now going to do book 4. It's called, whatever it was called, create a cover for me. And it created a cover that was in line with the other 3, and the font was exactly the same. And what she was saying is that she's always used AI. No, more recently she's been using AI to create her book covers, but she's always paid for somebody to do the font because AI's not been very good at that. But she said, now I'm going to have to think very carefully whether or not I need to pay somebody to do the font because AI
It's
can do
improving
it.
so much.
I'm just going to say that there's probably going to be a lot of artists and people supplying artwork who will not be very impressed with that as an approach.
Yeah.
But for somebody like Joanna Penn
who can afford it.
Can
I'm
afford
surprised that she's gone down that road,
but
frankly.
I think she's been very open about. I mean, I remember listening.
She's saying these are the possibilities. That's what she's saying.
I remember
the
listening.
other thing is anyone can take that cover.
Yes.
Because it's not
True.
copyrighted material, so anyone could put that on the front of their book and she could do nothing about it.
Yeah, which you wouldn't want.
No. But it just shows that there is a different world out there.
Yeah.
Yes.
But certainly, I think one of the conversations that we'll be having is every time, Carol, you ask me how's the novella going, I shall ask, well, Carol, tell us about your YouTube channel. How's that
There you go. You see. Oh, go on, ask me about my work in progress.
I want to know.
No, let's not.
Okay. It's a spin-off from the Magical Bookshop.
Oh.
And I am getting on for a third of the way through it.
Oh, great.
Is it the girl and the vampire? Have they got together?
They have. They have. And they've gone north. So there you go. And they are up north on a new adventure.
How far up north is up north?
They're in Manchester.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Proper up north.
Proper up north.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. I've just introduced like a proper Mancunian character.
Oh, right.
I can't wait for that.
So, yeah.
I like those 2 characters.
Is that going to be a new series?
Probably.
trilogy?
It's a different series arc. I'm not going to call it a trilogy. I'm going to call it a series because I've learnt from other people.
Yeah.
Not looking at anyone in particular.
I think you just need to call it a 5-book trilogy. Don't
Yeah.
Well, it seemed to work for Ken MacDonald, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm having
excellent.
great fun. And it's nice because I think when I got to the end of the Magical Bookshop, 'cause it's a 6-book series, I kind of thought, right, that's the series arc complete. I can't add to this.
Put it to bed.
Yeah, because she kind of got back to where she'd started. And I thought, that's it. That's where that ends. So it's kind of nice to look at characters from a different perspective because
definitely.
you see everything through Gemma's point of view
Yeah.
in the magical. If Gemma's not in the room, it ain't happened, basically. And now I'm doing a kind of dual perspective with Luke and Maddie.
Ooh.
So you get to see their opinion of everything that goes on.
Oh, that should be really interesting.
Has that come across, Liz, because you wanted to, or because you've had feedback from your readers
Bit
to
of
say
both.
bit of both?
I mean, I've been having feedback for ages about, are you going to do another Magical Bookshop book? And I've gone, the series arc is finished.
Yeah.
And I think when I got to book 6, I thought there are things here that I could do that would be a spin-off. Because Raphael goes way back with an incidental character, Sergeant Hawkins, and you could do a spin-off with those 2 of like the early days. And because, Raphael's basically immortal, that's very early days. So that could be fun. I think I had to get to the point where I had sort of space in my head and thought, well, this is how I want to do it. I don't want to do it from Gemma's point of view necessarily. And I don't necessarily want it to all be in a bookshop and all in London.
Yeah.
And I think I kind of needed that sort of space away from it to kind of think, right, that's what I want it to be.
That could work well.
I think also, I can't remember the last time I mentioned Ken MacDonald, who's written this Dublin trilogy.
Yes.
In some ways, that's exactly what he's done, because in the Dublin trilogy, which is now 7+ books long, he's got Bunny McGarry, who is the main character. And in the very first book I read, a chap called Paul came into it, who met this young lady called Bridget.
Yeah, I remember Paul.
Paul and Bridget. Now, he's done a spin-off there because they set up a MC Investigations. So he's taken those two characters and created a whole new series of books around them, which is working well. And you don't necessarily have to have read the trilogy, but if you have read the trilogy, it makes sense to see them
going off and doing something else.
Yeah, and it's quite nice also to have a different entry point, so that you could come in from A Man with One of Those Faces, or you could come in with the Stateside books, maybe.
Stateside books,
or the MC Detective Agency. So it means you've got more than one entry point.
Yes, yeah. And presumably that's what would happen with yours. And once you've got your new series out, there might be people who come in at that point and think, I must go back and read The Magical Bookshop.
I mean, the thing is, I've kind of got a bit of a record with spin-offs, to be honest with you, because Castor and Fleet, the series I wrote with Paula, and we both ended up taking a minor character and making a series from them. So I took Maisie Frobisher, who was kind of my character, and she took Catherine's younger sister, Margaret Desmarais, and we each have our own series with that. And therefore, there's the thing where, someone might read one of the Margaret books and then they'll get to the end and it's like, there's another series with those other characters. I'll go and read Castor and Fleet now.
And people love that.
And then if they read Castor and Fleet, there's a series Maisie. Okay, I'll read that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that connection, they love it.
Well, and I think the clever thing there with Liz and Paula is they've got that cross-pollination not only of series but of authors, two different authors. So once they get across to, having read Paula's and think, there's another one I can go across and read Maisie. I never heard of Liz before. And vice versa.
Or they can be like, they've got another series together and go off and read Booker and Fitch.
Yeah.
In which case they might then go to the Magical Bookshop or they might go to Pippa.
Yeah. So they're all threaded together.
We try. Speaking about threads, have we lost ours?
What was it?
I don't know if we've actually lost the thread. It's been an interesting...
it's been a bit of a labyrinth, hasn't it?
Yes, it has.
Yeah.
Without necessarily disappearing down too many budget holes, rabbit holes even. Yeah. And it also has now given us, Liz, something to continually be asking Carol about in the future. That's her various YouTube channels and which one is she monetizing, and
there's a lot to learn.
When she rocks up to a future writers group in her Rolls Royce, we'll think
skate more.
We'll think, hey up, that YouTube monetization's working.
Yeah, indeed.
No, as I say, it's something a few people have said to me, because I do dress in quite an individual way. I'm a bit wacky. And somebody at choir said to me, you're an influencer? I went, no. Have I not seen you on YouTube? I went, no.
There you go. You see, that is your cue.
Yeah.
Get that channel done.
And then the weekend when it was warm, I had this very much brighter than this, very, very bright dress on. And
brighter than that one?
Much brighter.
Wow.
And I went to the door. It was a very cool dress.
Yeah.
It was very...
For reference, Carol is wearing a multicoloured dress with like spirals and matching
shoes.
Multicoloured shoes.
Yeah.
And big dangly earrings.
Made out of car tyres.
Yeah.
These are made out of car.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And an enormous pink hat.
No, she isn't. Seriously, the pink hat is the only bit that's fictional.
I went to the door, and when I opened the door, the postman went, "Wow, you look amazing." I went, "Thank you."
Now, what you want him to say next time is, "You look amazing, and I saw you on YouTube."
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, well, we'll come back to that one.
So, in the interim, while Carol builds her empire.
Yeah.
It's going to be next year. I've got a lot on at the moment.
I wonder if she'll talk to us, Liz, when she's famous.
Well, if she's on the podcast, she'll kind of have to.
Yeah, she will, won't she?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I could advertise the podcast on the YouTube channel.
I think she may have her own fashion podcast, She wouldn't invite us to that, would she?
Why not?
Cheers, Mike.
when I put a comment on somebody else's YouTube now, we get the little logo, the little Only Murders in My Mind logo. So I'm like advertising for every time I go, I think that's great.
Talking about advertising, and we're getting near the end, you don't forget that we do have an Only Murders in My Mind blog as well, if you want to go and have a look at that. onlymurdersinmymind.wordpress.com. And what is becoming very popular at the moment is I put a picture up every week as a writing prompt. And we're getting quite a few people who are having a look at that, and quite a few are joining in. So feel free to go and have a look at that, and please feel free to leave us comments.
Yes, it's all going on. Yes.
It is.
Right. So, I think it's cup of tea time.
Well, that sounds like an excellent idea.
I think it's cup of tea time. So we'll leave you with that, and hopefully you'll join us next week at the same, or any time. It doesn't have to be on a Thursday at 5 p.m. You can listen to these episodes anytime you like.
Yes, we are on demand.
We are. And we're on Apple and we're on Spotify as well. So hopefully you'll enjoy this, and tell your friends. Bye for now. You have been listening to Only Murders in My Mind, a Random Thought production, produced by John Bissett. The music in Peril was composed and recorded by OM Studio Strings.